Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
And welcome back to America's Heroes Group, our roundtable and partner, the Veterans Legislative Voice. Today is Saturday, December 3rd, 2022. December is AIDS Awareness and National Human Rights Month. Our host is Kelley. I'm Claiborne, the co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Arnold Productions. And we have another familiar voice in the line, Miss Stephanie Kalota. She's a U.S. Army Reserve Sergeant First Class, the veteran and founder and creator of the Veterans Legislative Voice. And we're going to talk about an article that came up in the Chicago Crusader in a section called Voices. And it was called, Why is this Georgia Senate Runoff Election Still Matters? To achieve restitution for Black World War II veterans. It's in the Saturday, November 26th edition of the Chicago Crusader. What do you have to say about that, Stephanie? You wrote this article. You have a lot of things that I think is important and things that people, it's kind of a touchy and hot button. What's going on?
Well, one of the reasons why this bill is so important for Black World War II veterans is because the person that has introduced this bill and has been championing for it is currently going on in a runoff election for Georgia, Senator Raphael Warnock. And he has been working on this bill to try to get this passed to get restitution for all of these Black World War II veterans and their families.
So this is something that has been talked about a lot, not just in the veteran community, but also and through American history. The idea of restitution and the idea of people not realizing that a lot of the benefits and programs that the United States have implemented have excluded African Americans, and that's throughout history. And the GI Bill and a lot of the benefits and education benefits and the housing benefits for veterans has also been exclusionary, which is not good. And we have it's actually a term for it. Benefits obstruction is what we call it in the real world. So so what is important as far as the Senate majority is already going Democratic, and in the article you wrote that it seems like Republicans are against this, Democrats are for this. Democrats have the majority in the Senate. However, the Republicans have the majority in the House. How does this play out as far as the likelihood of something being done?
Well, for while the Democrats have the majority in the Senate, although by a hair, for majority of congressional bills like this one, it requires 60 votes instead of 51. So if we would get Senator Raphael Warnock to win this runoff election, we would have 51 likely votes for this bill. It is true, Democrats are more likely to be in favor in this. I haven't seen very many Republicans sign on as co-sponsors or thrown any really emphasis that way. So it's kind of a hot issue there. So Senator Warnock has already started a lot of work to try to get all of the negotiations and things approved so everybody's happy to vote for this bill. It basically would have to start over if he is not elected in this runoff election and has to go practically start over again with and who else that are still in the Senate. So it would be a big setback for Black World War II veterans and their families.
So what's actually in the bill? What does the bill actually say?
So the bill would actually say for current Montgomery GI Bill benefits and for the home loans, that would actually add an eligibility for Black World War II veterans and their descendants. So that's a big new one now because we have so few Black World War II veterans or even World War II veterans in general. I think we're at 100,000 now when there were millions of them. And so it's kind of scary. So they're counting kids, grandkids, and they are also looking into any other direct descendants included on that. So that would actually help out many Black families across the nation because there is a difference in, how there's a pay difference. There is really a wealth difference between any of the other demographics. And it would actually help out this economy to then have more people in school, have more educated workforce, it would actually cause a lot of really good things to help with the pending recession that we are supposed to be having, although that is highly contested. But it would actually help boost this economy.
And I think that's really important you mentioned, because it's not just something that's helping out when you do things that are unfair and things that are discriminatory and at a government level in your society and your culture. We're talking about the American society. We're talking about the American culture. We're talking about the American history. It actually hurts America overall.
Yes.
So
yes, it does.
I think you make up a good point with that.
Yes, because from World War II, when the veterans came back, they still couldn't afford very much because they had issues trying to get jobs. Jim Crow was in its height. There was a lot of things that were going on that was also discriminatory because they were Black. And so it's one of those things that it would have given a lot of step up in that way. So then there would be more wealth for the descendants down the road, and their descendants would be in a much better place. These guys serve the country. They risk their lives, and then they don't get these benefits. And it also hurts all of their descendants down the road. And then so it's this horrible cycle of trying to think of a good bad word for it, or good word for the situation. But it's a horrible cycle that they go through because they can't afford certain things. They were also veterans, so then they were also more likely to be denied their VA disability in general with the combat fatigue and all of this that is systemicness that keeps passing on generation by generation. This will help many people out with this.
And the thing I think people also have to realize as well is that when you look at American history, which we oftentimes like to sweep under the carpet, there is a tendency for groups of and certain interests in the country to try to sanitize and also sweep under the carpet some of the inequities of the country. But the thing is, in order to heal and to become a stronger nation, you got to own up to. That's what we taught in the military. Own up to and take responsibility for the things that you do, good and bad. You can't get better unless you admit that you screwed up. Then you got it wrong. And we all make mistakes. We all do dumb things. And at the local level, individually, at society levels, we do dumb things all the time. When we rolled out all these different types of programs, the GI Bill, the Homestead Act, you look at, the fact that after Reconstruction, you had a lot of African Americans getting into politics and building thriving, vibrant, strong, economically strong communities, not just in St. Louis, not just in Missouri, which was in the in pop culture, with the movies and documentaries coming about that, but all over the country. Here in Chicago, Bronzeville is a perfect example of that. Same thing happened here in Chicago. Same thing happened across the country. Race riots, people burning down towns because they weren't willing to relinquish or share the power to someone who they thought was different or what they used to subjugate. So the person who used to subjugate now is has a seat at the table, making decisions that for their own future and their own destiny, and also for the country as a whole. And there was reprisal for that. There were repercussions for that. There were people that without any protection, African American communities that were vibrant, wealthy, and powerful were burned to the ground. Thousands of people were killed. Children and women were murdered with gun violence, burned in their own homes. This is real history, okay? We weren't allowed to participate in the Homestead Act in large numbers. Sure, a few of us got through, but it wasn't rolled out to the entire community. So you were uplifting and putting in social programs for the mainstream white community, but trying your damnedest to exclude Black American citizens who paid their dues over and over and over again, broke their neck to join the military, to fight overseas in a time when it was Jim Crow, when there was racial discrimination. You can't even get a burger at a cafeteria restaurant that says white only, but you can go overseas and nearly die for your country. Not even given a full respect to be a regular soldier, have to serve in segregated regiments, segregated units, and things like that. And then all of a sudden, you see the POWs, some of the Nazis and the Germans that you're fighting against, getting treated better than you.
Yep. Generational trauma, that was the word I was looking for. Sorry. It's a vicious cycle of generational trauma that happens. that just keeps going and keeps flowing. This is a way to try to correct that. And another thing that could actually help, many of us veterans laughed at the confusion that the Army Secretary, she was confused on why we had such an issue with recruiting and retention. Of course, us veterans would kind of giggle at that because, you know what, really? Because we've been telling you.
Right.
And this could actually cause one of those things to unintentionally help with recruiting and retention, because if they are finally treating these veterans and their families right, there is more likely that these people and these families will then sign up. Mm-hmm. It is a high tide low. It's a very low amount of people now that are signing up that came from military families. That has dropped dramatically in the past couple of decades. And this could be something that could reverse that unintentionally for, actually good purposes. And also, hey, it would educate them before they even go in the military. They can be officers. We need more black officers in the military. We need black commanders there because Mormon minorities in those high positions could actually help and benefit everybody for the all.
I think that's what Will said, I think. And also, this bill, from what I understand, if it's passed, will allow the descendants of World War II veterans, black World War II veterans, to go to college or buy a house under the home loan program, and then also to go to school under the GI Bill. Mm-hmm. So that is something that is due to that family. I mean, unfortunately, we can't go back in time and award all of those African American veterans who were denied their benefits. This flat out told no, even though they were supposed to get it on paper, did everything they were supposed to do, but then denied the benefit, or dishonorably discharged intentionally after they've done their service so that they couldn't qualify for benefits.
Yes, because black veterans or black service members from World War II had a higher amount of discharge. They were dishonorably 39% of all black service members between August and November 1946, 39% were dishonorably discharged versus white service members, that was at 21.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty scary when that stuff is going on. And it's still today, black service members are still getting harsher punishments. They are more likely to be pretrial confined. They are more likely to be dishonorably discharged. And then there was a lawsuit recently that had been filed because they are more likely to get denied their VA disability, even today. So if we could start with correcting our history, hopefully we can correct the present in the future.
And what do you think the likelihood is? So if Warnock does win, what do you think the likelihood of this passing is?
Well, it will have to. I'm hoping that it's a very good. I have a very optimistic feeling about this one. I know it probably will not pass by the end of this congressional session, which would be the end of this month. So if he is reelected, the bill can be reintroduced because all bills die at the end of this month. And trying not to sound like the Schoolhouse Rock right now for that song.
I'm only a bill on Capitol Hill.
Yes. It would be reintroduced. There's a lot of talks right now. They have not officially put out the actual budget or estimates that would be attached to these bills. It's fairly high, but there is talks about separating the two benefits, having one just for the home loans and then one for the Montgomery GI Bill. There is a likelihood that one of them at least will pass if they are separated, but that is kind of scary because then the other one might not. Mm-hmm. And so those are the type of things that are being discussed and compromised, going through all of the committee and all of the different rigmarole processes that happens in the House and the Senate. So I'm very optimistic for the next 2 years for the next congressional session.
So why the pushback? What is the pushback? What's the arguments against it? I mean, we know that, not to be political, because I'm apolitical when it comes to politics, when it comes to like parties and stuff.
I try so hard to be neutral, but it is difficult at times. But yes, it's cost.
But the cost. Yeah, but think about all the stuff we spend. See, when people say cost, that always to me is smokescreen for not something that's not really the case, because the fact is that most of these programs don't cost that much money compared to what you spend money on.
Yes.
So when you talk about cost, but you'll waste money on some of the dumbest things that we don't even use. But
right.
Do you invest a fraction of that into something that actually can have a profound impact and improve the economy and actually save you money in the long term?
Yeah. Yeah, they spent. NASA spent millions of dollars trying to figure out how to use a pen in space. So, no gravity pen, while the Russians used a pencil.
Right.
So, my favorite comparison for it. So those type of things do happen. It's really frustrating. And the other frustrating part is that technically it's like these benefits should have already been paid out.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's doing the right thing. It's owning up to what you did wrong. It's not like you're saying, even if you're against the idea of handouts, you're not giving a handout. You're actually paying up a bill that you owe.
Yes.
Because someone already did their part. And in a most egregious manner, in a most un-American, unpatriotic manner, in a most racist manner, you would deny someone puts their life in the line to, and not even that wasn't even a reason why they're going into this in the first place. They're doing it because they want to prove themselves as Americans. And as the byproduct of that, they're supposed to get benefits.
Well, they were also drafted. Mm-hmm. Many of them were also drafted. They didn't really have a choice in the matter. And it's not like that they could suddenly have bone spurs.
Right.
So, sorry.
Right, yeah. But the amazing part about it in Black culture and Black history, there was an unusually large number of Native American and African American people that joined the military, that volunteered, lined up to volunteer,
because they would have a better situation. Mm-hmm. And it's sad.
But they thought, some of them thought that, but from my own family history and from reading the stories from World War II vets, many of them did it because they just wanted to prove that they were, they thought it was an opportunity to improve their situation, at least in the eyes of perception, being able to be seen as capable as Americans and as able to enjoy and worthy to enjoy all the freedoms and liberties that their white counterparts could get. Because when you go overseas, you wear that uniform, and you can come back and say, I'm a World War II veteran, and I have these medals, and all these units that serve with distinction, the Tuskegee Airmen, as one of the many units that were that. I don't think not one of them, correct me if I'm wrong, got a Medal of Honor.
I don't think they have, and the closest they've gotten, I believe, is a Congressional Gold Medal. For the unit, but I need to check that one out. It's frustrating that they approve so many awards and medals, but then they don't go back and right the wrongs.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. So, there's legions of stories of African Americans and the stuff that would make superheroes look weak.
Yes.
Like comic book superheroes look like jokers or whatever. I mean, they were doing some amazing things under the most unbelievable circumstances for what?
Yeah. Yes, I completely agree, because all of that, it's frustrating. There was actually a Black veteran from, I believe it was from Operation Iraqi Freedom, and everything was approved, but then it sat in that current president administration, I think for like 10 months, and did not move. Wow. And it was so frustrating. And once it started catching the attention with the news and the media, it finally miraculously got approved, and they had the ceremony. It was also posthumously, so he had already passed. But it's one of those things that you could kind of see systemically happening anywhere with generations. And this bill would actually try to right the wrongs and hopefully right more wrongs in the process.
I just see it as just paying a bill that you owe. I mean, it's something. It's not like,
Yes.
I mean, it's not even. I mean, you're never going to be able to correct the fact, the damage has been done, but you can ameliorate it to some extent. You can, but the more important thing is you owe these people.
Yes, yes. And so here's some numbers for you, because I know that this is really important for everybody to understand as well. So for the Black World War II veterans, when they were trying to get their VA home loans, they found that during 1947 in 13 Mississippi cities, only 2 of the 3,200 VA home loans for Black veterans were approved. Only 2.
That's crazy.
In the same year for New York and New Jersey, only 100 were approved out of 67,000 VA loans. So it wasn't just in the South. It was also in many other areas. So it's really scary. Black World War II veterans, only about 6% earned a college degree, compared to their white counterparts that's 19%. So more than double. And it's pretty scary. Majority of a lot of Black veterans were in the South at the time, and they had trouble even just getting enrolled because they could only go to the historically Black colleges back then. Many of the segregations were still in effect, so all of those colleges were overrun and overwhelmed by the demand, and they were not properly funded to expand and meet the need. So even if they were approved, they had a difficulty even trying to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was.
Go ahead.
So there was just so much more than just being denied. It was also not the support for any of the other benefits that they were trying to get.
And you throw in the historical problems of redlining. They already have discrimination and finance anyway through banks. You weren't really any mainstream banks in Black communities at that time. So
No.
You had to go to Black banks, and then that trickle-down effect of those investments. So once again, you go look at what created the white middle class in America. Well, a lot of these programs, like the Homestead Act, like the GI Bill, these programs helped build the highway system. And when Eisenhower came back from World War II, became president of the United States, he created a highway system. He saw what they were doing in Germany, loved the Autobahn, and said, hey, let's do this in America. We need this for national security. What were those highways used for? They were used to segregate and also separate Black communities from white communities as well, to divide up the nation as a byproduct. And then so
and
all
also
that
displaced.
Yeah,
and also displaced many Black communities because they decided to go through those communities. There's a lot of that happening because I'm currently living in St. Pete, and they're still trying to fight for restitutions on that because they were not even compensated for the land that they got from them.
Wow.
Yes. So a lot of big things. Here's another number for you. The reason why I brought up the wealth gap and the pay for the current families between the demographics, from the 2019 census, white households had an average wealth of $76,000. In comparison to Black households, Black households were at $46,000. $30,000 gap. And it could be nailed all the way to the Black veterans, World War II veterans that did not get this, so they can get the degrees, earn more money, and help out their families and get a better life for their descendants.
So billions of dollars that's missing out of the Black community because of the exclusion and benefits obstruction that took place after World War II, just after that one conflict.
Yes. And it's so scary and it's so upsetting for this. So I want to let everybody know, if you are a descendant for a World War II veteran, or you know somebody that's a descendant of a World War II veteran, or you're a spouse of a World War II veteran, you can call up your congressman. You can call up Senator Warnock's office and let them know, hey, this bill would change my life and my family's lives. You write a letter, call them up any way you can, because they want personal stories. They want to hear from people that this would be affected with. They will read out personal stories in the middle of the Senate when it comes up for a vote. They could read your story to make the change to get more people to vote for it.
This is my last question. We have about 2 minutes left, about a minute and a half left, roughly. So,
You're good.
from what I understand about you, I've known you for a couple of years now, it seems. And so, you're a white woman.
Yes.
Okay. So, how does a white woman write such an article for a black newspaper called Chicago Crusader?
I am also a minority. I identify actually as gender fluid. I am a pansexual, and I am also, my grandfather was a Korean War veteran who was actually closeted gay and did not come out until I was about 7 years old.
Wow.
There's a lot of minorities and different things that I feel like it bridges, and I hope it bridges, because I have seen different things happen, and I can only imagine what people of other minorities have gone through. And so I try to put myself in their shoes because of the experiences that I've gone through. And thank you for asking that.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Stephanie. You always have great information, and I'm always impressed by the integrity and also the diligence and the thoroughness of your work. You do a lot of great journalistic work, and also you're a great advocate for veterans across the country, and you're doing so much to really bring awareness to everybody that's listening.
Thank you. I love you. I love Glenda. Thank you so much, guys.
Stephanie Kalota, U.S. Army U.S. Reserve Sergeant First Class, and a founder and creator of the Veterans Legislative Voice. This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back.